Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Toy Reel. Today we have a very special episode. In fact, we shot a very long and extensive inaugural one, and based on the long one, which was about an hour, I apologize now, we actually managed to go through quite a lot of toys, but we all agreed that the Punisher deserved a special review on its own.
Yeah.
It is such an awesome figure.
Ben, can you maybe start by telling us the difference between this San Diego Comic-Con exclusive compared to the other ones?
This one has got the white boots, traditional, like the comics. It's got the white boots, the white gloves, the white belt. The original release one had the black belts, black boots, black gloves, and then obviously there's the Netflix version of it with the different head cast. The San Diego Comic-Con one is a combination of all the accessories for both of those two. So, for example, the Netflix one comes with the Gatling gun and the machine gun, and a different knife, different pistols. Whereas the regular release one has a bazooka and a grenade launcher. So yeah, this one seems to be a combination of both of them, and it is a very, very nice figure. Yeah.
Look, I mean, I'm not a Punisher fan by any long stretch of the imagination, and you know, we're probably not going to be friends after I've said that. Yeah. But yeah, this is actually something that I would probably be really sort of looking at, not just because of the quality and the detail in the figure, but because of the accessory range you get with it. At the end of the day, you can't have him holding a Gatling gun, a bazooka, a machine gun, a pistol, all at the same time. Yeah. So you have the option of basically adding to the range a little bit, using the accessories and different combinations and that as well. So I'm very big on accessories with figures, just so that you can play around with it, because at the end of the day, you don't want to be looking at the same pose on a figure for 6 years. Yeah. You want to be able to change it, and that's what I really, really like with this figure, is just the accessories.
They're really stepping it up. I mean, in terms of value for money. So if you look at this, let's say when I bought it at San Diego Comic-Con for $85 US, compared to what we're getting now in 6-inch figures, as far as different ranges are concerned, it's pretty reasonable. But then on the secondary market, it goes for Mozza. So but let's let's break it down real quick. So you get the figure, Frank Castle, 3 interchangeable heads. We got 4 sets of hands, incredible. We got 1 duffel bag here, and then there are 3 types of muzzle, flashes, and blast. Now, as far as weapons, now this is awesome, because the weapons are highly detailed. We got an M4, okay, with a pump action grenade launcher, okay, and within the actual M4 itself, you can move the pump action section here back and forth and load that with the grenade. So that's pretty amazing. We have the Glock hand pistol over here with interchangeable magazines.
The M4 actually has an interchangeable magazine as well.
Well, there you go. Sorry, I missed that. Yeah, so that you're right, Ben. Incredible detail. And then we have the Gatling. This is such an iconic piece of hardware. Very lovely. Well done. We have a Uzi 9mm with the suppressor, or what would they call the silencer?
Yeah, which is removable as well.
Removable. So the suppressor is removable. And can you believe it, guys?
Yeah.
We saw that when we unboxed it last week, the detail of even just that first bullet out of that magazine.
Yes.
That's normally a first indication that you're dealing with something that's... It's not like, say, a Hasbro or a Marvel Legends sort of thing. This is something that's aimed at a really hardcore sort of collector that really cares about detail and finishing, and you just don't see that on other lines.
On the lines, yeah.
And that's the really cool thing. And as I said, with the accessories, you get a lot of variety and ways to move. It's almost like a miniature Hot Toys set that's basically been shrunk down to 6-inch scale. Yeah.
And I think that's what Mezco are trying to do. Definitely. That's the market they're trying to target specifically. So with other weapons, we got the M67 fragmentation grenades. Again, very accurate representation of the grenades itself, the hand ones. We have the bazooka, or what we call the rocket launcher. And then finally we have the knife and the sheath. So actually you can show that, Simon.
That's the knife.
Let me turn back there. Sheath, and that fits really well. It fits on a belt actually. So stack of accessories, amazing. For $85, not bad. But would you pay more than $85 for this?
Personally, I would. for the level of detail and the accessories of this this particular figure, I would pay more.
But it also has a little Ziploc bag, which allows you to basically put all your goodies in there, and it comes with a stand, and also probably stuff still in the box, the support stands, the acrylic support stands. Very simple packaging, boxing, because it's not it's not a clamshell, it's a box, but it doesn't have a window. Most Mezco figures, non-exclusives, actually have a window.
I prefer a box like that than something that has a window, because at the end of the day, this is something that you're not going to want to keep in a box.
No, definitely not.
How important do you think design is as far as packaging is concerned to the presentation as far as toys are concerned?
It really depends on what you're collecting. If you're collecting something at, say, let's go $35, so let's say Star Wars Black Series from Hasbro or Marvel Legends, for example, they're things your target market is not sort of us, for example, alone. It's kids, teenagers, stuff like that. Something like this, when you get to sort of the $100 mark, and I include Figure Arts a little bit in this as well. Figure Arts do a really good job with the boxes where they have the images on the side. So you have that option, or you have the name on the other side. So they're a little bit different. But when you get to this sort of level, this is Hot Toys sort of packaging. This is basically designed to be on a shelf as a display piece in itself. And I think that's actually something that appeals to a lot of collectors now. I know I collect Hot Toys, for example. I look at the boxes as well. I get slightly bored with some of the Star Wars ones because they're all basically the same. It's just the character image is different. But you go to, say, Marvel, for example, and Marvel has all these wonderful box designs and different colours and that. And I think when you get to this sort of level, you want that. Windows and boxes, I've never really been a fan of. Cheaper products, yeah, because you kind of expect that because you want to see the figure. But if you're going to go to SDCC and get this, for example, you're already going to know because of all the press images and that come out. So you're kind of looking at the whole thing. You're not just looking at, say, the figure.
Okay, so Ben, I mean, you mentioned before that, yes, you would pay $85 and a bit more for the figure, but will we put a cap on it? I mean, if someone's asking $300 for it, I mean, that's a bit exorbitant.
For $300, I could buy a Hot Toy. It's a lot bigger. I'd pay is maybe about the 150 mark, absolute max. It's just, again though, it all comes down to what type of figures that you collect. I mean, would I spend $300 on this one? I like the Punisher, but no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't spend that much. Would I spend $200 on a Marvel figure that I didn't? Like an X-Men figure? I don't really collect X-Men, so I wouldn't spend that much money on it, on that particular figure, because I don't really collect it. Would I spend that much money on a Star Wars version of it? Yeah, I love Star Wars. But it all comes down to which are the type of figures too. So,
and I think with value of figures, as far as collectibles are concerned, you are prepared to pay whatever you're prepared to pay for.
yeah, definitely.
Every collector's different. That's not a bad thing in itself, but I also think that when something starts, and let's go say Star Wars as an example. Like the SDCC exclusive that came out, like the Thrawn set last year. That went in the States for, I think it's $59 or something like that. It's over $400 now. Different thing if it's, 10 years old, or it's like a vintage Star Wars figure, different thing completely. But, something like this where it's just come out, it's just been released, it's just begun shipping in the States for anyone that was lucky enough to get it online as well. So there is going to be a little bit of stock floating around and stuff, and that will dictate the market, but you have to have a limit.
I mean, these things are going for 3-4 times now.
Yeah.
Even on the third or fourth day at San Diego Comic-Con, they were already on the shelves at the different vending, at different vendors, on the same premises. So it's sold out at the booth, and people had queued up the previous night, and exhibitors had bought them and literally putting them on shelves for 3 to 4 times the amount.
And that's where I think, as a collector, you need to research. You need to know what's out there. You can't just go to the first sort of retailer that has it. Yeah, there is always going to be a thing, and like we were talking the other night about the Zucker's exclusive,
Yeah.
I even said there is a limit to what I'm willing to pay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go and pay $61 for a figure that is going to be retailing for about $35.
Yeah.
And especially not when I know there's going to be stock out in the marketplace. It's all great to be the first one in, but it's still going to be out there. And for me, that's $30 odd that I can put into something else.
All right, so let's look at the figure now. Let's get into the figure. Now, Ben, we figured that everyone talks about, you know, the points of articulation in the figure. I think it's the posability and how quick you can get the pose that is important. But before we do that, you know, I want you to take the figure and have a look at it and tell me what you think of the soft goods in terms of just the general, your general feel of the figure itself, the paint application, the material, etc., etc.
I like the weight of it. It's not. It doesn't feel cheap and flimsy. The joints are, I wouldn't say stiff, but they're not loose either. So you know they are easily posable. The soft goods, like I said to you last week, is just I can't get over the quality and how well they fit the figure. And how well they move too. They don't bunch up, they don't look bad in different poses. The paint apps are phenomenal. We've already gone through with the heads and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I can't get over the detail on the eyes. The one on the mask, you know, the mask paint is great, but if you really have a good look at it and have a look at the eyes in the eye sockets, it's just phenomenal. Yeah.
You did mention something before that you didn't like. Well, I think one of you guys said there was some issue.
The stitching on the back is a little bit off. All right, now, if you're going to pose a figure, you're going to be looking at it from the front, obviously, but the stitching on the back looks like a bulletproof vest on the back. It is, the plates are slightly different. It's only by a little bit.
I think I have the Judge Dredd version of the 112 Mezco Collective stuff, Mezco 112 Collective, and the crotch area also had some issue. I think this comes down again to a quality control thing, and you know, like we mentioned on the last episode, for something that's mass produced like this, it's never perfect. There's always going to be something that you're going to miss, right? But yeah, I can see how if someone was OCD like me, that would bug the crap out of me. The stitching on there is like, yeah. So,
At the same time, it's in the perfect place because it is actually on the back.
You're not going to see it.
you're not going to see it.
Unless, of course, you got him posed facing, you know, the wall.
Okay, so I think there are a couple, you got like hand trigger guns, you have hand holding guns, there's supposedly a karate hand, which I assume will be this one, there we go. And then you just got general hands. So, all right, so while Ben does that, Simon, I'm gonna quickly ask you about what would make you buy a Mezco figure?
It's level of detail. It's accessories as well. So, you know, Wolverine last week obviously had the claws and everything like that. And, you know, obviously we had a debate about the colour scheme as well. But it's also, it's one of those things where I'm kind of glad it's a Marvel sort of thing. It's focused Marvel, DC and stuff like that, which is, for me, perfect, because if it was Star Wars, I'd be completely broke all the time.
I mean, they have DC, they have Marvel, and they have quite numerous licenses. But do you think people would be swapping over their Hasbro Marvel stuff for the Mezco stuff? I mean, I've heard people talk and say, wow, you know, I'm going to sell all my Hasbro stuff and I'm really going to get into Mezco. But man, I don't know. It's
See, I've heard that with various collectors that I talk to. So, like now I would say Figure Art's doing Marvel as well. Me personally, I've moved away from Marvel Legends a little bit, and I've gone to basically get Marvel Figure Arts. That's a personal choice, and that's got to do with the fact that I can do a lot more poses and stuff like that. But I'm a different sort of collector in that sense, because some collectors believe, and they are occasionally right with this, those cheaper ones will generally generate more value than something that you have to take out of the box like this, for example. You know, it really depends on the collector. Some people really do want to do poses and everything, some people don't.
Yeah, I mean, with the poses, I mean, again, I said there is a limit to some of these poses, particularly with Mezco. The soft goods on a lot of these figures sometimes will inhibit the movement.
Well, one of the other ones which I've actually just sort of noticed is the feet. If you go and look at, say, a Bandai Figure Arts one, the actual foot has articulation in it so that you can actually do the bent sort of pose and everything like that. That's something that, as a collector, for me, I would expect to see on something like this a little bit more, because like the pose you're trying to do now with it, that would work perfectly if you could actually push the foot up a little bit, and that it creates a stable platform. And again, you know, it comes back to the collector, because obviously budget plays a part.
So the thing I like about that figure too is it's really well balanced. Like the way that you had that just then, it was 1 foot on the ground and 1 toe on the ground, basically. If you tried to do that with a Marvel Legends or a Star Wars Black Series, it'll fall over. I can't even get half of my figures to stand up when their legs are straight, let alone, you know, you've got to really balance them well. But this, every pose that we've done has balanced really well. You know, it's not going to fall over.
This has got a fair bit of weight to it, and I mean, even the heads by themselves are quite heavy, which, you know, if you do, like Tamashii Nations does it slightly differently with the interchangeable faces, but some of them do have the full heads as well, and they're quite light, so I think that kind of works with this a little bit more as well.
We're gonna close this review, but we're gonna use what we call a grading system, just basically 1 out of 5 stars. 1 being piss poor or bad, right? 2 being average, 3 being good, 4 being very good, and 5 being awesome.
I love this Punisher figure. I absolutely love the interchangeable heads, the accessories on this. It's just an all-round awesome figure.
So 1 out of 5?
I give this a 5, this one. Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Simon?
I'm probably going to get in trouble for this, but I'm going to give it a 4, and that's taking a few things into account. As I said, to me, if you were going to do poses and that, it's a little bit limited. To me, it's really that foot join that kind of gets me, because we are talking a very close price range to some of the other Japanese products. And, you know, we're even talking the movie realization stuff as well, which is about the same price as this. And that's where I'm a little bit disappointed. They all come with great accessories as well, don't get me wrong, but they don't come with, say, this accessory range. And I mean, as much as I love the accessories, and I think that basically equals another figure, price point plays such a massive part these days, and availability plays the second part of that, posing plays the third part, and the fourth part is basically the figure itself. So
look, for me personally, it's hard. I'm pretty hard when it comes to toys, because, you know, I have to bear in mind that they're people sitting in factories somewhere painting them. So I would say, you know, I'm probably a very good, I mean, there's some things, that stitching really, if that stitching was done properly, it would have been like 5 out of 5 for me. It would have been like, bang, 5, perfect, you know. Other than that, I think the level of detail, the price, the value, the amount of accessories. We can also talk about very quickly before we close, what is your favorite accessory? But yeah, for me, it would have been a perfect 5 if the stitching was done properly. So 4 stars for me. Favorite accessory? Don't tell me it's a duffel bag.
We didn't even mention the duffel bag.
Actually, there's a duffel, and it zips up, by the way. It does zip up, by the way. It's pretty cool, really nice touch.
For me, I think you'd have to go with the M4. It's just, with what you can do with it, it's by far the most versatile of all of them.
Okay, so that's Simon's favorite accessory. What about you, Ben?
I do like the M4, but I'm a massive fan of the Gatling gun. Yeah, it just looks awesome. I mean, we haven't even put the blast effects in yet.
Can I go for 2 accessories rather than 1? So we're all different. I like the Uzi, the submachine gun with the suppressor. This is really cool. I've always been a big fan of Uzis, actually. So I like the Uzi with the suppressor, but I like this mask.
I did notice that had been released before, so yeah, it was in one of the other releases.
Cool. All right, so that's it for the 3 of us here at Toy Reel. For more information on upcoming episodes, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching, everyone, and until the next episode, I'll see you later.